My name is Annika and I'm 13 years old. Today I will be talking about personality, or rather, why do we all have different personalities? So I have the report on my phone, so I'm just going to open that. Okay. Has anyone ever made you angry, and have you ever wished someone acted more like you? You probably have. And if you haven't yet, you will definitely think that way in the future. All of us here have different personalities, and have you ever wondered why? First of all, let's define personality. Does anyone want to answer this?
I'm afraid to.
Our tendencies, well, you see, personality has many different answers, and that is correct, one of them. But personality is the combination of qualities and details that make up a person's individual character, influencing the way he or she acts. It is your thoughts, your feelings, and behaviors, and it is unique to each of us here. Only you can have the personality that you have. Understanding the neurological physiology of personality is considered the holy grail of psychology, and was the topic of the first paper of Sigmund Freud, who was an Austrian neurologist. Personality is affected by your upbringing, your genetics, experiences, and your culture. It remains primarily consistent, but adds and detracts traits based on events in your life. For example, trauma may add an aggressive trait, or on the other hand, apathy and passiveness. A person who has not experienced these types of events may be more level-headed and easygoing. However, there can and will be exceptions to both examples. We inherit genes from our parents, but we cannot inherit a fixed personality. The effect of our genes on our personality is dependent on our day-to-day life. Based on your genes, no one can say what type of person you're going to be or what you're going to do in life. However, 20 to 60% of our temperament is determined by genetics, but we don't inherit the whole traits of our fathers and mothers. Also, an individual's personality will be solidly established by the end of early childhood. All these things make up your personality, although some may think experience alone is what builds it. It is a big factor, but what if we raise children in a controlled environment where they all have the same experiences, minor and major? There would still be differences in each child's personality because God has not wired us all the same, and different people will react to different stimuli differently. Okay. Let's imagine you see a roach on the table here. Most of you will probably attempt to kill it, right? It's a roach. And we'll probably all be screaming too. But some of you, maybe, might just want to observe and watch it and do nothing about the roach. Our different personalities will cause us to react differently to visual stimuli. So there are different types of personalities, which I have listed down here. So we have sanguine, which means being optimistic and social. Choleric, meaning short-tempered and irritable. Melancholic, meaning analytical and quiet, and phlegmatic, meaning being relaxed and peaceful. They can overlap. You don't just have one of them, you can have all the different traits of them, and they overlap just like this, a Venn diagram. Though personality usually stays consistent through life, physical trauma can also change it, as seen in the case of Phineas Gage. He was a railroad worker here in the US who had a large iron rod driven through his head in an accident. People who knew Gage previous to the accident described him as calm and well-mannered, and that he was a kind individual. After the accident, which he did survive, he had become fitful, irreverent, indulging at times in the grossest profanity. So what changed? The iron rod was driven through his frontal lobe, destroying the left portion of it in his brain. So what can we conclude from that? We can conclude that from this, that the frontal lobe must have a relation to our personalities, and that would be correct. If you remember back to my last report, which focused on why we understand language for what it is, you will remember that I talked about the different lobes of the brain. The frontal lobe, which is here, is the front part of the brain, is the seat of higher functions, such as judgment, motivation, behavior regulation, and our social consciousness. In the early 20th century, neuroanatomists discovered the limbic lobe, which is an arc-shaped part of the frontal, temporal, and parietal lobes that sits in the middle of the brain. And it was recognized as where we process our emotions, which in turn influences our personality. Since the rod had damaged Phineas Gage's frontal lobe and limbic system, his brain started processing things differently, and he became a whole different person because of that experience. In conclusion, we are all different because we are simply just created this way. God determines the experiences and events that we will have in our life, and how we will change because of these events. Our personalities are part of the reason why we are wholly unique, and a look into the anatomy and functions of the brain can help us understand that. I am glad God has wired us all very differently. Imagine what the world would be like if we were all the same person. It would be very boring. Our differing personalities are a testament to God's creativity and how much He loves us. If you've watched VeggieTales, who here has watched VeggieTales? You are probably familiar with the phrase said at the end of every episode. God made you special, and He loves you very much. Any questions?
What percentage did you say our personality is due to genetics?
20 to 60%. 20 to 60% of our temperament.
That's a wide range. 20 to 60?
Mhm.
According to?
Which one do you tend more towards?
Melancholic.
Melancholic.
Yeah. That's the one I feel I could be, but I also have traits of other ones as well. Any other questions?
What is your ultimate goal in life in terms of education? What do you have a desire for?
I definitely believe that I will be heading somewhere in science. I don't intend to focus on psychology, even though it is a subject that I'm interested in at the moment. When I was smaller, I drifted more towards cardiology, and it's still something I very much desire, although I have become interested in many other fields of science as well. So all I know is that I will be in health somewhere.
Okay, sounds good. I think you're a scientist in a 13-year-old body.